Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audiofic. This is a new series, The Princess and the Cheese, and it's written by Jheqia, narrated by Dawn myself. Hello! And it is also a writing prompt by Alicia, so massive shout out to her too. Massive shout out and thank you very much for the commissioned artwork by Arcataza in the thumbnail. So make sure you go and give her some love. All her information is listed down below. Make sure you give Jheqia some love for writing it. And make sure you give me some love by smashing that like button. Comment down below what you think of it and what will happen in the next chapter. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on this one and other series and other one-shots that are happening at the moment. And enjoy. Chapter 7. Is it really you? After a peaceful afternoon of cuddling on the couch, watching silly movies and working on the report, well, punctuated by kisses of course, Adrian had to go home. After another solitary dinner that strongly emphasized how much more at home he felt at Marinette, he went to his room. "Grab a slice of cheese, Plagg," he said hurriedly. "Let me guess, we're going to visit Pigtails?" Plagg replied smugly. "You spent most of your day with her, and now you want to rush back over there? A bit eager, aren't we?" He couldn't stop the wide grin that spread across his face. "Maybe, but Cat Noir should go and apologise to his princess for a certain Kwami being an uninvited guest for the day." "Hey! She loves me, kid," his little friend replied, pointing a paw at him accusingly. "And I knew she was in love with you a long time before you figured it out, kitten." "Plagg? Why didn't you tell me?" His Kwami shot a mischievous grin. "What? And spoil the fun? Seeing all her attempts to get your attention has been the only thing worth paying attention to at school of yours." Adrian's hands opened and closed into fists, and not for the first time that day wondered if it was possible to throttle someone that could phase through walls. Rather than find out, he did the next best thing. "Plagg, claws out!" "Hey, watch the cheese!" Plagg groaned as he was sucked into the ring, and Cat Noir caught the wedge of cheese before he hit the floor. A few minutes later, he was tapping at Marinette's skylight. It opened and she climbed out to meet him with a wide smile. "Good evening, princess," he said, bowing at the waist. "Good evening, Cat. I take it you were here about Plagg?" He blushed and rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah. I wanted to apologise for all this. It was kind of a prank gone wrong and he got it in the snit about it. Sorry you ended up involved." She giggled. "I've had that happen to me a time or two myself. I didn't mind. He was well behaved and he actually helped me out with something kind of important today." "Really?" he asked, feigning confusion. "That sounds very strange for him. What did you do? Bribe him with catnip?" "No, he just helped me realise a few things, that's all." Her gaze flickered up to his and she bit her lip again. He swallowed hard as his heart pounded hard against his ribs. Maybe this was a bad idea after all. "Cat?" she asked carefully. "Plagg said something today that confused me." "I'm not sure what he could have said that would do that, Marinette," he babbled quickly. "I mean, you already know about the Kwamis and—" She chuckled and shaking her head. "No, not about your identity or anything. He just—" What could the little cheese gremlin have said? Oh, wait. Hadn't he told Marinette that Cat had a crush on her? In the excitement of finding out Marinette was in love with him, and their kisses in the maintenance room, and then the Kuma fight, and their afternoon at a house, it had completely slipped his mind. "I hope he didn't say anything to distress you, princess." No, what he said was he suggested that you might like me as more than a friend. The words eased softly, gently from her lips, as if she was afraid to hurt him. But there was none of that telltale stammer that she was suppressing her feelings. He cocked his head and smirked at her. Why does my princess want to know a thing like that? She twiddled her fingers nervously. It's just the important thing that Plagg helped me do today. Yeah? Remember helping me practice to tell the boy I love that I loved him? Wait a minute. Plagg, the stinky cheese monster, who has a distinct dislike of anything mushy that isn't labelled imported camembert, helped you to confess your crush? She hadn't, not really. He even kissed her before he had managed to confess. Ugh! With all the extra lessons father put me through, why couldn't he have gotten lessons on how to court a girl properly? She giggled. Not exactly. I know it's weird, him being the black cat Kwami, but I think he brought me a little luck today. Turns out Buttercup, she made adorable little air quotes, has liked me for a long time too. He spent the whole day with me and asked me out for Saturday. He noticed she left out the kissing part. Funny, she was masking her relationship with Adrian from Cat, just as she had masked a friendship with Cat from Adrian. She really is the everyday ladybug. So, was Plagg right, or was he just trying to pull my leg? He walked over to the railing to look out at the starry night, trying to figure out how to say what he wanted to without giving too much away. You are a very special girl, Marinette. I call you my princess for a reason. He felt her walk up next to him, looking at him in the dark, trying to read his face. When you told me that you were in love with me, it was both the greatest and worst day of my life. It was the best because the first girl who ever told me she loved me was someone as amazing as you. But it was the worst because I had to turn you down because it wouldn't have been fair to you otherwise. You deserve so much better than lies and secrets and half-absent heart. You still do. He sighed, turning back to her. He reached out to caress her face, but settled on grasping her shoulder instead. But I knew you were in love with your Buttercup, and I had already made one mistake pressing my suit with Ladybug when she wasn't interested. So, if this boy makes you happy, then I'm happy for you, princess. But if Buttercup ever hurts you or breaks your heart, I will thump him and sweep you away without hesitation. Marinette stared at him with intensity he had never seen on her face before, but was still eerily familiar. It was like she was boring into his mind and heart, trying to discover the truth he couldn't tell her, the truth that would put her at risk. He would never do that, she whispered, her tone as certain as the sunrise. One small hand came up to cup his jaw as her eyes widened to become his sky. Would he? It wasn't a question, and her eyes never left his. His breath, he breathed in sharply and realized he was shaking. How long? He breathed. After today? She asked, one eyebrow raised. With Plagg reading Adrian like a book? With the boy who never seemed to show much interest suddenly follow me around like I adopted a lost kitten? How unfocused you were in the library and at lunch. And now you show up and tell me that? How could I not have guessed? Marinette, does this change anything? Oh, he hoped it didn't, that she still wanted to be with him. I'm sure some things will change, she said with a sigh, and he could feel a familiar disappointment rising like a wave inside of him, ready to crash his world around his ears yet again. But the most important thing? That I love you, Adrian. That won't change. Ever. She spoke those words with the same intensity, the same steady confidence she had displayed when she was telling him he had to help her get Plagg back to Cat. He felt dizzy as the wave faded to ripples and the tide of warmth and the love swelled in his heart. Oh, Marinette! He pulled her in and kissed her, reveling in her sweetness and the charged feeling that passed between them. Oh, why had he waited so long? Why had he spent 2 years pining for Ladybug when someone just as precious and even more amazing was sitting behind him all this time, waiting for him to see her? Adrian? She murmured against his lips, but he didn't want to stop kissing her, now that she had told him she loved him. He pulled her closer and purred loudly. She giggled and pulled away just enough to look at him, but her eyes were shining. Is something wrong, princess? She bit her lip nervously. No, nothing. I just don't understand why you would switch your affections to me when you've been in love with Ladybug. He cradled her sweet face in his hands and pressed his forehead to hers. I have always been drawn to you, Marinette, ever since that day in the rain. Do you remember when I gave you my umbrella? Yeah, Cat blushed. I've always liked you. I've always wanted you to think well of me, to want to spend time with me. You always made me feel so... wanted? Yeah, but I couldn't bring myself to go further than friendship because I was in love with Ladybug and didn't want to hurt you. He smirked slightly. It also didn't help that you kept getting nervous and backpedaling every time you came remotely close to telling me how you felt about me. She groaned. Oh, I know. I've been a mess. The more time I spent with you today, the harder it became to ignore those feelings that I'd tried to bury for so long. He released her to rub the back of his neck in chagrin. Even if it started as me trying to get Plagg back. But Ladybug has always loved someone else, and I finally decided to move on a while back and let it go. He chuckled. You know, it's funny. She told me today that a special boy had kissed her and asked her out for Saturday. Marinette's eyes went wide and realization hit him like a lightning strike, lighting up the shadows of the last 2 years. Plagg rarely called Marinette by her name, especially when he had suspected that she was Ladybug in the past. She was always running late. She was always helping others, willing to work herself into exhaustion for her friends, her classmates, her parents, him. She was caring, compassionate, brilliant, brave, hated liars, always stood up for what was right, and... He reached out a trembling hand and brushed aside the strand of hair that she always styled in front of her ears, revealing the simple black stud earrings. Earrings he had never seen her without. Is it really you? He whispered from a mouth suddenly dry. She nodded, eyes now dark with worry. Cat, Adrien, He let her go in shock at the suddenness of it all. He started pacing back and forth across the small space, trying desperately to put together the pieces of the puzzle that was Marinette and Adrien and Ladybug and Cat Noir. But you were Multi-Mouse, and Ladybug kept pushing me away, and you said you loved Cat, and I thought I broke your heart and hated it because you're everyday Ladybug, but Ladybug is you, and you loved Buttercup. It's okay, Kitty, she said, struggling to keep the laughter from her voice, but it danced in her eyes. He carried on pacing and talking. And you loved Adrian, and I'm Adrian, so I'm Buttercup? He ran his hand distractedly through the air. Why am I Buttercup? He looked at her, desperate for her to step in and make everything right like she always did. Today, and all of its revelations had broken his brain, and he hoped she could set it all to rights once more. Before he could start pacing again, she grabbed him by the bell and pulled him down for a kiss. Previously, he had initiated the kisses, and they had been warm, wonderful, and sweet, much like Marinette. This was not. This was kissing Ladybug. Marinette could switch her hero self on when needed, and she did so now. She wasn't stuttering, nervous, or clumsy. Instead, she was strong, confident, and in command of herself, him, and the situation. Her kiss sent a fire sweeping through him, the love behind it as hot and deep and strong as a volcano as she poured all of his answers into the eruption. It filled his heart to overflowing for the first time that he could remember, and left the rest of him weak and shaking. That's when his legs gave out, sending him sinking to the floor of the balcony, pulling her down with him, sprawling in his lap with a muffled oof. Wow, he breathed as she wrapped her arms around him. This isn't a dream, even though it might feel like one, she said, blushing furiously. Adrian? I promise I will answer everything I can, but it needs to start with this. I have loved you since you gave me your umbrella. Me dating Luca was me trying to move on from you, and it failed miserably because I couldn't tell him I'm Ladybug. But also because I was still in love with you. And you being in love with Cat? He asked, his heart pounding at a closeness, but a presence soothing his anxious mind. She grimaced. You caught me on my balcony that night, and I was trying to distract you so you wouldn't figure out that I was Ladybug. A weird feeling squirmed in his chest, an uncomfortable mixture of amusement and disappointment. So, you were never in love with Cat? She blushed. Not to the same degree as Adrian, no, but I knew there had to be something between us, otherwise we wouldn't have kissed during the whole Oblivio incident. She withdrew her arms from around him and fiddled with her fingers. I was just too frustrated and embarrassed to admit it to myself. Hey, it's okay, princess. Believe me, I get it. He tipped her chin up so he could look her into the eyes. I would say I did the same to Marinette because of Ladybug. But can we get past all that? Because I want to tell the world how wonderful you are and how lucky I am that you love me. I wasn't joking earlier when I told Ladybug that she would have to go a long way to measure up to my girlfriend. But seeing you, knowing that you're Ladybug, it makes the rest of her make sense to me somehow. He blushed furiously, rubbing the back of his neck. You see, I really wanted her to be you. You did? she squeaked, her eyes wide and sparkling. Yeah, it would have meant that all the feelings I had for you and her wouldn't be as confusing. It would have been the best of all possible worlds. He looked at her hopefully. I just never thought I would be that lucky. She blushed back at him, teasing her lower lip between her teeth again. Ugh, too cute. He pulled her in for a fierce kiss of his own, pulling away quickly and leaving her swaying. Princess, if you keep being so cute and biting your lip, then I'm never going to be able to stop kissing you. She giggled. You do realize that doesn't give me much motivation to stop. It's been driving me crazy all day. She raised a quizzical eyebrow at him. Really? Don't tempt me, Marinette, please. For an instant, he saw a flash of humour in her ocean eyes before she curled the corner of her bottom lip underneath her top lip. His heart beat double time against his ribs and he leapt at her with a playful growl. Adrian! She gasped as he pulled her against him. I thought you wanted me to Shh, he purred, delighted to see her pulse quicken in the vein in her neck. That can wait for Saturday. For now, I want to kiss my princess. We've both waited long enough, don't you think? She hummed her agreement as he sought her lips once more, her hands tangling in his hair. Oh, how he loved this girl. He never wanted to leave her side ever. Well, that was later Cat's problem. Now he was going to enjoy the perfect end to the strangest, most perfect day of his life. And for the first time he could remember, he was truly happy. All thanks to his princess and some cheese. Oh, that was so good. Massive round of applause to Jheqia for writing it. Oh, double reveal. I love it. That was, sugary sweetness. Make sure you smash that like button. Show me some love. Show Jheqia some love. Make sure you comment down below what you think of this series. And make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on other series that are happening at the moment and other gems to come in the new year. And I hope you're all good. And I will speak to you soon. Bye.